Canoes might have made Atikokan, Ontario famous, but those boats would be nothing without proper paddles, right? Exactly why Spencer Meany fires up the stove on cold winter mornings.
There we go.
Spencer carries on an Atikokan tradition every time he turns on the table saw.
It's great to live in this community and carry this on.
Spencer runs XY, a business of hand-built canoe paddles.
You know, all our paddles are named after fur traders, explorers, and so on, just to keep a little bit of history alive. And that was really important to my father. Like, he loves Canadian history, right? This is a Charlotte, it's called.
Spencer does too. Exactly why so much work goes into each paddle. Spencer starts by picking wood.
That's normally all I do.
He cuts each piece into strips, then picks another longer piece.
So what I'm doing here is getting this shaft ready for a blade.
He traces a pattern where the paddle blade will attach. Then, using the biggest bandsaw around, he cuts. Up next, Spencer preps the paddle blade.
These are matched pairs. I already paired them up.
And then glues the set to the paddle shaft. This paddle will go to the Boy Scouts, and that group wants a simple pattern.
You see how the grains come together? So it gives it eye appeal and also strength. The thing about hand-making paddles is throughout the whole process, all these are being tested and flexed and shaped by my hand and eye, right? Whereas machine paddle, the wood's just getting put together in bulk.
This step goes quickly. He also clamps on two smaller pieces that will help shape a one-of-a-kind paddle.
This is going to be the back piece of the handle that gives me the angle that goes away from you when you grip the shaft so that you have no wrist fatigue.
A design unique to XY.
Again, it was my father's, design.
The key here, Spencer's dad. While glue dries, let's break away for a second.
And this is the history of the Voyager contract.
That's Spencer's dad right over there.
The canoe to Canada is what the covered wagon was to the United States. It's as simple as that.
A master paddler who grew up in this part of Ontario. Don even paddled across Canada in 1967 to celebrate his country's centennial.
In the hands of a right person, this paddle will take you anywhere you want to go on this continent. And it's the truth.
Back then, paddling buddy Greg Cowan and Don had an idea.
Both of us agreed, geez, there gotta be an easier stick than these straight ones,
So they started making their own paddles.
Originally, Greg and I said we'll call it North Country Paddles. But then we talked a little bit, we discussed, and this is not that historic, but XY is historical, Did you find it, Greg?
Yeah.
XY, the name of an 18th century fur trade company that worked this area. The name, Don's way to pay his respects to Ontario paddling history.
You gotta be proud of your roots, where you come from.
He's emotional, he's spiritual, he's mystical, he's sentimental, and I think all that comes out in his work.
45 years worth of work building this company and these paddles.
It's deep. Obviously, I'm very proud of my dad and what he's accomplished.
So much so, Spencer gave up his career as a professional hockey player to come home to Atikokan.
Just thought somebody better learn dad's craft before it's all said and done. And
the design of his dad, now refined by son.
But he's always improving. I got an idea. Try it.
Okay, the glue dried quickly. Spencer pulls the clamps. He trims the handle and preps for another layer of wood. Glue on.
This is where you need another arm.
So let's take a break. Up next, woodworking turns into a very active art form.
Made for the Outdoors is brought to you by Magnum Research, Powers Machining Incorporated, Seafoam Motor Treatment, Aquarius Home Services.
Even with Atikokan's river still thoroughly iced up, Spencer Meany grinds away his time prepping for paddling season. First, Spencer trims down the blade. Then his craft of woodworking becomes an act of art. Just watch. This is a fairly long and dusty process.
I eat it daily.
Spencer literally feels each paddle come to life. He puts his heart and body into the work.
Years, plus I had my dad's benefit, right? Like, he had to start from scratch, right? Whereas I got the benefit of him saying, no, no, not there, over here. That kind of stuff, right?
No two XY paddles end up exactly alike.
It's just by eye, and you get imperfection, but that's what people desire. It's their own, you know what I mean? And hopefully they like what I make. That's the point, right?
Oh, they do. His paddles go to customers all over Canada and the United States. Heck, Canada's top dog even owns an XY.
He's from a paddling family, right?
That's Canada's Prime Minister Trudeau, in case you didn't know.
He said he was going to use it, so I hope he does.
With the paddle now properly shaped, Spencer finishes with a bit of grit.
So all this does is taking off the rough edge from the belt.
Only after does each piece earn the right to bear the XY name. Now, Spencer steps into the last room for one last step. This is a fun one to watch.
This is just a paint thinner to take the dust out of the tank.
That tank, definitely old school. A one-of-a-kind setup for a one-of-a-kind process.
That's how I hang them.
Spencer taps a hangnail of sorts into each paddle. Then he pours the secret finish, which he filters and reuses each time he dips.
You know, it's an old way of finishing. It's hand work, right? There's very little golden hue to this. Like, I try to keep it natural colored. I don't stain any of the woods. All the woods are their own color, right? But I let them hang drip for about another half an hour.
This final process takes a couple of days to dry and re-dip. Once done, these paddles go to the display shelf. Just one more piece of this tiny town's big paddling legacy.
Well, I think it started as a tool by necessity, and then it, you know, morphed into art. But it's functional art. It's 100% usable. It's not thrown on the wall.
I've ruined I don't know how many pair of jeans. These shoes here is almost ready to go. Almost. I figured